Welcome to the Not Superheroes Just Dads podcast. No, we can't fly. No, we can't shoot lasers or pick up giant billions. But what we can do is help set the foundations for our families, be presents for our kids, and combat generational cycles. On this podcast, we dive into everything dad related, from the struggles we deal with as fathers to what our favorite thing to barbecue is. Hello, I am Sean Laurie. I hope you guys are doing great today. Like always, make sure you guys like, subscribe, tell a friend, share. I appreciate the support. It's been amazing. And honestly, too, shout out to all the guests. My last guest, Cam, I appreciate you, bro, for hopping on. Um, yeah, man, like I said, it's been a beautiful thing. I've been definitely just uh, loving the support, loving the messages, and things like that from everybody. Now, with that being said, today I want to speak on something that I think is a huge thing, and that is leadership, right? And the funny thing about leadership, when it comes to fatherhood and leadership, uh, they actually have a lot of similarities, right? Requiring many of the same traits that you need, right, to be a good leader or be a good father, whatever that looks like for you, right? And I wanted to talk about those things. And honestly, I look at it like it's about four strong. Yeah, I want to say four cores, right? Four cores that you need to be um, an amazing leader, and that will help in fatherhood, in my opinion, right? And so I want to break that down with you guys because we look at it even with sports, right? We look at it, we talk about it all the time when it comes to leadership, things like that. One of my favorite players ever, right, is Michael Jordan. And, it might have been came off when it came to Michael Jordan, he might not have been viewed as the best leader at times because of how hard he was on people, right? Or Kobe Bryant, right? I know he was similar to MJ, obviously, but he was viewed as sometimes not maybe the best leader in a way, right? And so you could lead in all different types of ways, right? You could lead in all different types of ways, but I want to talk about those things. So the first thing I want to talk about is being able to have empathy, right? A great leader listens and understands other people's perspectives, right? That's what you would want as a job. That's what you would want, with whoever it was. It could be a team lead, it could be your supervisor, your manager, your boss, whoever, right? Be able to understand other people's perspective, and just as a father, right, must tune into to his children's needs, right? Their emotions, their concerns, whether it's comfortable, or I should say, it's comforting, right? A child after a tough day, offering support during those challenges, right? So empathy helps fathers build the trust and connection, just like I said, just like in the workplace, right? You need to be able to build that connection and be able to have that, right? And when you have empathy, just think about it. When you have empathy, how strong those relationships are when you're able to have those things. So being able to have empathy helps you to be a leader, and a lot of times it's going to help other people. Actually, it's gonna have people gravitate towards you, just like your kids. Your kids are gonna gravitate towards you more because they're gonna be like, okay, you know what? I had a tough day, and they're really listening to me. They're really trying to understand from my side, right? And so that's the first thing. That's the first thing that sticks out, right? And so the second thing I would say is is probably cliche, but just responsibility, right? Both requires, or I should say, both roles, right, requires a deep sense of responsibility when it comes to leadership, right? Um, you have to be a good leader for any type of job, any type of workplace. If you're leading, if you're in charge, if you've ever been in charge of something, right, uh, it's going to fall on you, right? If no matter what, no matter if you're the supervisor, if you're putting an event together, whatever the case is, no matter who's helping you, at the end of the day, if something goes wrong, it's going to fall on you, right? That's just the reality is, right? And as leaders, our accountability, right, also our team is going to hold us accountable, or should, right? Fathers are accountable for their families, right? providing, being that stability, being that guidance, being that support, right? And with that, at times we're going to have to sacrifice, right? We're going to have to sacrifice sometimes our happiness, right? Sometimes we're going to have to sacrifice our time. We're going to have to sacrifice certain things. Sometimes we're going to do things that we don't want to do, but we know, okay, at the end of the day, we're responsible for our family and making sure our household stays together, right? So we're going to keep that job that we're not necessarily a fan of, or we're going to, stay up late, or we're going to move our schedule around. We're going to do different things that we might not wish. We wish that we maybe didn't have to do it, but we know that comes with being a father, just like it comes with being a leader, right? There's times, again, we some of us might have supervisors, bosses, whatever, and we might feel like, man, they don't do nothing, they don't do this, right? But then when we're clocking out, right, they're still maybe working, they're still doing things behind the scenes, right? Or if you're in the leadership role, right, where everyone else is clocking out, everyone else is doing, they get to go home, they get to relax. You're still trying to figure things out, right? There's times where my kids are asleep. There's times when um, they're doing their own thing, they're playing their game, they're doing whatever, and I'm trying to map out the next move. I'm trying to map out, okay, um, man, this is the next place where we're going to move to, or, let me save up for this vacation. Let me figure out, this gift, this event, whatever the case is, right? And so that falls on me, right? It falls on me as being, I guess, the head of the household, right? Which I feel is so important. And also, too, let me make sure I point this out to just for the women as well. Like, they also can be leaders as well. It just looks a little different, right? So I want to just make sure I point that out, that um, a woman, a mother, definitely can be leaders. It's just going to look a little different because we're different. We're different creatures. We're different beings, right? So we're going to lead in a different type of way. Um, and so, what I will say too, the third thing is accountability. And I feel like as men, not all men, I can't say all men, but a lot of us as men, we're accountable because we look at, like, man, we have so many people depending on us, right? We have so many people we don't want to let down, right? And so responsibility, obviously, that's I'm sorry, accountability, that's responsibility. Accountability, right? Which obviously ties into responsibility, but accountability, being accountable. Just like, again, I'm gonna keep using the workplace or sports or whatever, right? When we're watching our favorite team, whatever it is, I know people love LeBron, or Jordan or Kobe, right? Anytime their team failed, did we talk about Derek Fisher for Kobe? Not really, right? Did we talk about Steve Kerr for Jordan? Not really, right? Are we going to talk about, I don't know, Austin Reeves, right? For LeBron, not really, right? It's gonna come down to the best player, right? They're gonna hold him accountable, and sometimes accountability isn't fair, right? Actually, a lot of times it's not fair, but that's just the reality, right? That also comes with the responsibility, right? So we're going to be accountable, just like, again, when our kids mess up in school, right? A lot of times, let's be honest. I worked at a school too, so I know how it goes. The teachers are looking at it like, dang, okay, is what's the parent doing, right? Is a parent not being responsible in this situation, or they're not holding their kid accountable, right? And so it falls on us, right or wrong. That's just the reality, right? And so being accountable, and in anything, right? In relationships, right? In relationships, you got to be accountable, right? You got to be held to a certain standard. When I'm slacking in something, right? I need my lady to tell me, hey, this is what you're slacking in. You need to get together, right? Same thing with my kids. If they're slacking in something, I have to hold them accountable. Now, accountability isn't fun, right? A lot of times it's like, man, why can't someone else do it, right? Accountability is one of those things where we want to push it off to the next person, or we want to point fingers. Matter of fact, we want to say, well, they didn't do this, or what about them? But it's not about them, right? Like, as me as a father, why would I be like, oh, okay, you know what? This is on my 6-year-old child. No, I have to be accountable as far as be like, okay, what is my action showing, right? Am I being a good example? And then when I make a mistake, am I owning up to my mistake? Am I apologizing to my kids, right? Are they seeing me like, dang, okay, Dad's not human. Dad messes up, but he's owning up to those mistakes. And now he is trying to correct those mistakes. Because as you guys know, I'm a believer in God. And so I believe we're all sinners. We're all going to make mistakes, right? But it's like, how can I fix those things, right? How can I fix those things and be that provider, be that stability, be that guidance, be that support system, right? Because at the end of the day, I want to make sure that I show my boys, because I have two boys, right? Showing them what a man looks like, and then, hey, this is what happens when you mess up. Hey, don't don't do what I did, right? I want to make sure I let them know, hey, I wasn't accountable here, and this is what happened, or I was accountable here, and this is what happened, right? And so, and even for my daughters, right, I want them to know how it is to be loved, to be like, dang, dad, you know what, you didn't hold this certain standard, man, you're right, and that's something I got to own up, that's something I got to fix, that's something I got to correct, right? I got to make sure I model that behavior, right? If I say, man, you know what, why are you talking to your mother like this, but then they see me cussing her out, right, they're going to be like, well, okay, how you going to tell me when you're not being accountable here, right? And then now I'm not even setting a good example. So now all of a sudden my sons think that's how they're supposed to talk to their woman when they get older. And my daughters think that's okay, and they're accepting it, right? They're accepting it because they're like, well, at the end of the day, I guess like I saw my dad always do this, so this is what it's supposed to be, right? And so I got to be accountable and let them know, hey, you know what, dad screwed up here, and that's not good. And matter of fact, that wasn't right what I did. So make sure you're not in that situation, and make sure you don't do this, right? And so accountability, man, I think that's a huge one. And then the fourth one, right, is resilience, right? Leadership and fatherhood both involve facing difficult decisions, right, and unexpected challenges. Resilience allows fathers to weather tough storms, right? Tough times, showing their families now this is how you bounce back. This is how you grow from hard times, because again, we're going to have hard times. That's just what it is. So resilience is key, man. Resilience is something, like I said, I think it's something necessary, because just think about it. Anything that you accomplished or achieved in your life, right? It took some resilience. There's never been anything that was easy, and if it was super easy, then it probably was something you didn't really appreciate or something you didn't care about. And so, with at least for me and my family, it's hard, right? It's hard raising a family. It's hard with so much going on, right? But that also makes me appreciate my family that much more, right? Because there is gonna be times, oh man, you know what? My car's messed up. Damn, I didn't expect this to happen. Okay, where do I get this extra money from? Right? What? Oh, I gotta do overtime. Oh, dang. Okay. Oh, shoot. You know what? I'm not able to, put this event together or celebrate my kid's birthday like I wanted to. Okay, what do I do next? Right? And so, um, leadership, you know. It's like I said. I keep using sports because again, many of us as men, we love sports. So we love the fact that, oh man, you know what? They came back and they fought through it. Oh man, they was injured, but they kept playing. Oh man, they was down 20 points and they kept fighting, right? And the funny thing is, we'll celebrate that. We'll be happy about that. That they kept fighting for their team, but then we don't show that same resilience for our family. We don't show that same toughness for our family, right? It's like, man, you know what? It got difficult. Dang, like, you know what, man, I'm not even trying to deal with it. Matter of fact, I don't want to deal with my kid because, my baby mama's tripping. I don't want to deal with it because my lady's, acting up or whatever the case is. But it's like, man, we got to fight through those tough times. And through that, we're going to grow too, because now we're going to be able to handle those certain situations. That's why for a long time, I was helping, other men as well, with emotional intelligence, right? Because I'm so big on that, because if you can really understand your emotions, if you can really harness that, man, it can elevate you in such a great way that many people, I feel like, don't understand, right? And that can help you propel you to whatever you're trying to accomplish. So many times we can't accomplish whatever goals we want to accomplish because we let our emotions get in the way, right? Because of what we're feeling at that moment instead of really pushing through, right? Because we want to put blame on other people, so that's just something that's easy to do. Making tough decisions, um is I didn't add it in there, but that's another one too, right? When I think about it, making tough decisions, that comes with leadership, right? Where, like, for example, for me, I had to make a tough decision, moving from California to Texas, right? Leaving my family, leaving friends, leaving what I knew, right? And it's a scary decision as well, right? But as the father, as the man in the household, I took on that responsibility. I took on that that task, right, and said, this is what I'm going to do. Fatherhood often requires making decisions that may not be easy, right, but are in the family's best interest, right, and that's how I kind of viewed it. Rather, is setting boundaries, right, which I've had to do, right, with my own family. Like, hey, you know what, this is not allowed in my household. Or, you know what, hey, the way you might address other family, that's fine, but you can't address my kids like that. You can't address my lady like that, right? Like, setting those boundaries, prioritizing values, right? Hey, in this household, this is not allowed. That's just what it is. I don't care what the world is doing. I don't care what everyone else is saying. That's fine with. That's not something that is gonna I'm rocking with, right? And some people might look at it like, oh man, you know what? It's not that bad, right? Like, for example, I really filter what my kids watch, right, and what they're looking at, because on YouTube, my 6-year old, he loves Spider Man, things like that, but he be on YouTube on Spider Man, and now it's Spider Man chopping up I don't know, the Joker or something like that, right? Chopping up Batman. All of a sudden, like, I'm like, wait, where does this come from, right? And so I don't want him looking at that at 6 years old and thinking, wait, okay, that's okay, or oh, that's funny to do, right? Just different things like that. And now, what, it starts becoming a norm. Because the crazy part is, right? I don't know if you knew this, but like, it's good or bad, I guess. But in China, they actually have it where they filter what you can look up, right? And they do that. It's obviously like a dictatorship, right? But they do that because they, one, obviously, is one of those things, they don't want them knowing everything that's going on. They want to control, like, certain things, but it also helps them not be, I guess, like, be to see things and become like it's the norm, right? Like, we could go on the internet right now. My kids could go on the internet right now and type up something crazy and see someone, get shot to death, right? And we just watch it and be like, oh, okay, and then you can share it, right? Oh, I'm gonna share it with this person, and like, it's become the norm, right? And so, like, for me, I'm not okay with that, right? For me, I'm like, no, that's not something. Doesn't mean I don't talk to my kids about certain things, but I'm not going to allow that in my household. That's just for me. And that's part of my values, right? I'm prioritizing those things. And, for me, I'm going to choose what I feel is best for my kids' future, just like all of us, right? A father's guidance is rooted in love, teaching, his children the importance of making thoughtful, and sometimes challenging choices, right? And so, for me, I know that comes with the territory, and I'm okay with that, right? I'm okay with making those tough decisions, but you have to be. If you want to be a good leader, you have to be. You have to, at times, shut things down, right? Where, your lady might want to spend a bunch of money. Your lady might want to, hey, you know what? I really think the kids could use another game. It's like, well, no, that's not really important right now, right? That's not something that they need. Matter of fact, no, the standard is, hey, he got a C on the test. So, or she got a C on the test. So, no, she's not getting a game. Well, it's still a passing grade. They got a C. What's wrong with that? But you're like, for my values, for the standard I put in my household, I'm making a decision that they're not getting rewarded for average grades, right? Because my kids are more than average. This is a subject that my kid knows. My kid is excellent at math, and they got a C. And the reason why they got a C is because, I don't know, they were playing Fortnite all night, right, or something like that. So it's making those tough decisions, in your household, and setting that standard. That's why you guys always hear me say, right, when I have a guest on there, like, man, I appreciate you for setting that standard, because I truly believe that as the man, as the household, you set the standard. Because a lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of times, when the father's in the house but not setting that standard, it's chaotic in the household. I haven't personally witnessed where the father isn't setting that standard, and is kind of chaotic or in and out, and the household is doing amazing. Maybe there is some houses like that. I'm sure there is, but from my experience, I haven't. A lot of times I've seen it where you know the father, as he's supposed to be the head of the snake, but if he's not right, a lot of things aren't right, right, and a lot of things fall on it. Fall. I'm sorry, fall on the wayside because of that. So, and teaching and learning together, though, I think is also a key thing in the fatherhood journey, right? Where us as fathers and our kids are learning, right? There is no, like, yes, there's these so-called parenting books or whatever, but every child's different, right? And just as leaders, right, we grow through experiences, right? If you working at a job and now you're the supervisor, or you're the team lead or whatever position, right? You're going to have to learn these things, even when they show you how to do it. Hey, this, you got to do this, you got to do that. This is what you do. You're like, cool, all right, awesome. This is what I'm going to do. But guess what? They tell you that, and then there's a glitch in the system. Oh, guess what? You know what? What they told you to input isn't taking because whatever, because of X, Y, Z, right? A lot of times, what? Now you got to troubleshoot, right? They didn't tell you that when you first started. They didn't tell you that when you got the position, right? But now all of a sudden you got to make tough decisions. You got to figure out, oh, okay, you know what? Actually, when you move this over here and you move that over there, now, I can get this prior authorization or whatever you're doing, right? Same thing for fathers, right? Often we're learning from our children, right? Adopting to new challenges and gaining wisdom along the way, right? With my oldest, learning through her, and with my youngest. But even with them, I have 4 kids, and they're all completely different. They all need me to be a certain way, right? They all need me with certain things. With some of my kids, I could be more hands off on. Some of my kids, I gotta be hands off on. Some of my kids, I could be really hard on. Some of my kids, I can't, right? And just understanding and adjusting to that and being able to adapt that way, right? So, and they're growing as well, right? They're growing from that, and seeing, okay, you know what, dang, dad, normally doesn't, I don't know, have me iron my clothes. He's having me iron my clothes because he's showing me he's trusting me, right? So now they're feeling independent, they're feeling responsible, or whatever the case is. But the growth is also going to just strengthen the bond, and foster an environment of learning, right? Lifelong learning, and mutual respect, right? Because um, at the end of the day, our kids is gonna be like, man, you know what? Like they really was trying to understand me. You know what? They wasn't perfect, but they tried their best, right? Because we're gonna make mistakes. No matter, you could try to be the best father in the world, you're going to make mistakes. But you have to understand that's okay. And you have to also understand that you have to admit when you make mistakes, right? Be like, dang, you know what? Yeah, I was a little hard on you, and I shouldn't have been in that situation. You know what? I wasn't there, and I apologize. How can I make up for that? Because a lot of times, as kids, right, we want it when our parents messed up. A lot of times, all we want them to do was what, own up to it and say, "Damn, I'm sorry, I apologize." Right? Something as simple as that. Something, and now let's move forward. Right? It could be, man, I really wish you came to my football game and you didn't. Instead of making excuses, stuff, you know what? You're right. I promised you I would make it to the football game and I didn't. Man, I got to do better than that. I got to make sure that I prioritize, right, your game instead of me working that overtime or whatever the case is. Um, but yeah, by embodying these leadership traits, man, as fathers, I think it can only help us, right? It will contribute to us building, stronger families, and communities, right? And laying that foundation for the future generation, because at the end of the day, that's what we're doing, right? We're helping set up the next generation, right? And so, we have a chance to help, have build the next doctor, build the next lawyer, president, whatever the case is, right? And I know with the presidency, some people still, hurt and mad about that stuff or whatever, or happy, depending on which way you looked at it, right? Some people happy, some people sad. That's a whole nother discussion for another day. But yeah, I just want to really talk about that because leadership, man, leadership is such a key thing for us as fathers, and we have to also stop trying to put it on other people, right? Like, no, when you're a father, you have to understand the responsibility that comes with that, right? It's not up to your dad to be the father for your family. It's not up to your homeboy, right? It's not up to your neighbor, right? Like so many times we're not so many times, but there is times where we want to lean on everyone else for things instead of really making that decision, right? And now we can learn from them, right? We could take little things here and there. Because don't get me wrong, I've had some amazing role models. I've had some amazing a man that I've came across in my life that's helped me with certain things that helped me build a certain foundation, right? As far as I took little nuggets here, took little nuggets there, and was put together and was able to form my own, right, with it. And for me, one of the key things as well, um, that's helped me with my leadership, I should say, is just having God as my foundation, man, has really, helped me really put things in perspective and help me be able to put certain values that I want as well into my kids. But yeah, those are the four, I guess the four cores, right? Four cores of leadership that I feel that can only empower us as fathers. And that's empathy, responsibility, accountability, and resilience. And if we're able to really just focus on those things, there's even more, but just those four nuggets, I feel like will definitely help us go a long way. But with that being said, I appreciate you guys like always. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and like always, remember, you don't have to be perfect, but you always have to be present. I'll see you guys on the next one.